It's not that often that I decide to make an entire podcast dedicated to a festival weekend or a concert, but sometimes something happens that's so incredible and amazing, and I'm like, this has to be a Waterproof Records episode because this is why I created the show. It's not just about album deep dives, it's about these life-changing, groundbreaking moments that happen when you experience live music, and I have to share them with you. And there's only one other time that I did this exact same thing last year around the same time for the same festival, the Best Friends Forever Festival in Las Vegas. So I'm here to do it again. It's a little bit of a different take. Last time the episode was called My Midwestern Emotions, and it was talking a lot about the Midwest emo. But this one has a totally different side to it, but I'm excited to get into it. So how do I paint this? I guess it's just time to talk about Best Friends Forever. But really, it's about, I'm just going to say it's time to talk about the power of music. Let's go.
Things are gonna change, I can feel it.
If this gonna be that kind of party, I'm gonna...
Waterproof Records. Waterproof Records. Waterproof Records with Jacob Gibbons.
That's the power of music. Get almost cue Huey Lewis in there. I'd been entertaining the notion recently about doing episodes about some, maybe guilty pleasure albums. So maybe I'll do that soon. But this is about Best Friends Forever. Oh, but before we get into that, DistroKid time, distrokid.com/VIP/waterproof. Save yourself 30% off your first year of uploading your music. I know you've been inspired and wanting to put music out in the world, and this is the best way you can use it. You can use that link, you can upload it, and you're going to save 30% off your first year. It's not even that expensive to do to begin with, but what a great deal to save 30%. So do it right now. distrokid.com/VIP/waterproof. Save yourself 30%. I use this and you should use it too. And I'm so grateful for DistroKid for supporting the show. Okay, we got that. We covered that. And I'm kind of in more of a relaxed posture this week. I'm in the home studio, still getting things sorted. I think it looks good. The space looks good. The lighting looks good, but still haven't got my tech mastered, but we will get there. I'm hoping that by this Christmas, this is going to be an up and running studio that I can have guests and do the interviews here. But hey, I was glad that I got to release that the Kelly Scott episode, failure episode. You guys really liked that. There was a good response, and he was so awesome. He'll definitely come back on the show. We had such a good time, and I loved his stories, and I feel like I could have him on over and over and over again. But Best Friends Forever time, I made a little list to kind of run over the show and who was there. It's not a huge festival. This is only its second year. I went last year. It's in Las Vegas, and it's definitely when I show people the artists that are playing at the festival, they kind of are like, I don't know any of those bands except for down at the bottom, Jimmy Eat World, So this is not one of those festivals that has a ton of really well-known artists, but to the people that go, a lot of these bands mean a ton to us. And I have been fortunate to have two, I believe, from this lineup on Waterproof Records. I've had Walter Schreifels from Quicksand and Rival Schools, and Rival Schools played at this festival. And then I've also had Tim Kasher from Cursive on here as well. And so it was great to see them from afar. I didn't get a chance to see them up close. We just kept missing each other. We had some weather, which I'll get into that. But this episode isn't just going to be about me recapping a festival. That would be boring, right? Just like, oh, and then I went here and then I went there. No, I really just wanted to share some of these magical, highlighted moments that happened because I've been telling them since I got back. I've been telling them to friends, and my brother was just here and I told him, and every time I tell somebody, I'm like, I want to tell the world about what happened at this festival with a band called Elliott. And they have been around since the late 90s. I was introduced to them. Their album False Cathedrals came out in August of 2000. And, you would classify it under an emo, Midwest emo. But really, genres aside and like categories aside, it's just a beautiful record with rock, but really yearning, aching vocals. It is one hell of an album, and it really was special to me. And knowing that Elliott was going to be playing at this festival was really a big deal, because I'd missed my chances when they'd come through LA a few years ago, and just didn't, I wasn't always paying so much attention to who was coming through town. But this time I knew they were going to play, and I was so excited. So excited that I made a video before I went to the festival about, I'm going to see this band Elliott, and I sure hope they play this one song. And yeah, the experience was something else, just to tease you a little bit there. But let's start a little bit with Friday. The big headliner of that day is Minus the Bear. And my knowledge of Minus the Bear is very, very limited. Not because I don't think they're good, but just I haven't, too many bands, so little time. Pachuca Sunrise was a song that I think a friend showed me, and it would make its way in some playlists, and I would listen to that. It would come up in some mixes, but that was really about as deep as I went. Maybe a song or two here and there in a Spotify playlist. But Pachuca Sunrise is a great song. It's great guitar tone. It's got a groove to it. It's great driving music, and I liked it. But I knew on that first night that I had a little bit of wiggle room to, if I didn't want to go late, I don't have to go late, because it had been a long day, getting up super early to drive to Vegas, getting in, checking in, getting my wristband, all that stuff. And when I arrived at the festival, what was so funny is I had a press pass. I had a press bracelet so that I could interview artists and whatnot when I was there. But I show up and my name isn't on there's all these people in line waiting to get in. It's the bright, hot Vegas sun, and we're all waiting to get in this festival. And I get up there up front, and they're just like, yeah, we don't have your name. And I'm like, well, I'm supposed to be on press. And they're like looking through, and they're like, no. And they're like, and I was like, maybe this band, and they're looking, no. So I'm just standing off to the side. I'm just standing to the next of where there's these windows, and they're helping people get their tickets. And as I'm standing there, I'm calling my contacts, trying to reach out, trying to let them know, like, hey, I'm not on the list. I don't know what's going on. And they're kind of scrambling, trying to figure out what's going on. And while I'm standing there, the lady's helping other people coming up. And as they're coming up, they're going, hey, man, I love your videos. Or they're coming up, they're high-fiving, they're taking a picture with me, they're shaking my hand. This keeps happening over and over again. And after about like 7 or 8 people do that, the lady behind the kiosk, we still hadn't heard, but she looks at me and she's like, obviously, these people know who you are, so here's your press bracelet. So I thought that was funny, because it was really the audience, my fans and people who support me, that helped get me in. And thankfully, after that, they eventually, like I got into the festival, and then I got a call, and they're like, oh, no, it's just there was a typo, and they couldn't find you that way, but you were supposed to be on there. Anyway, it was a great way to start it. I was like, oh, no, I'm not going to be able to get in here. And then just thanks to people recognizing me in front, they let me in, and I was in. Now, I missed some of the early bands, but honestly, look, I try to be cool and know all the artists in the world, but I can't keep up with everybody. You know what I mean? This festival is catered towards both old and new, older people and younger people that like music like this. Even more so this year, they brought in a lot of younger, newer bands that I haven't had a chance to check out, but it was neat to see the kids at this festival, young people walking around excited about these artists and excited about bands like Mineral. We saw a whole group of teenagers wearing the Mineral shirts, and that was just so amazing. This festival really caters to both, and so you get to have the older guard, the people, the heavy hitters who've been around for a while in this genre, and then you had some newer ones. So early in the morning, the bands that I missed were Prized, Horse, Crochet, Snowing, and Millie. I heard a bunch of people say like, oh, Snowing was amazing. So I'll have to give them a listen. I haven't had a chance yet. And then we get to Speedy Ortiz. I had never seen the band Speedy Ortiz, but I really enjoyed them. I was encouraged to check them out because of my friends that were there. I'd made this great group of friends, Andrea, Adam, and Brian, and we had all become really close the first year. And so Andrea's like the biggest Speedy Ortiz fan. So she had made bracelets for the band, and she'd made bracelets for us that said BFF, BFFs. So cute, so cute. Music lovers are such great, loving people, you know, so you really have this cool community. But she really wanted to see Speedy Ortiz. So we did. It was a great set. It was on the smaller stage. And I really enjoyed them. And they seemed sweet and gracious. And I didn't get a chance to meet them, but my friends did when they kind of hung around and got a chance to talk to them. I did forget to mention that I got into the festival right as Superchunk was taking the stage, as Mac was up there. And Mac and I have yet to meet in real life, but I had messaged him and I was like, it'd be great to meet you backstage. I love Superchunk. I've put them on the 90s Treasure series on Sundays. They were actually, I'm pretty sure, Hyper Enough was my very first 90s Sunday Buried Treasure. I think that was the very first one I did back in like 2022 or 23. That's what kicked off the series. So I love Superchunk, and I've wanted to meet Mac for a while, and I'm hoping I get another chance. And I'd seen them play at Riot Fest from afar. And this time around, we were messaging, and I was hoping I'd see him backstage, but we would be thwarted. I would not get a chance to meet him due to, dun dun dun, the rains of Vegas, which is not something you normally hear. But I went over to Bear versus Shark, and they were a blast. They put on a great high energy show. I only knew a couple Bear versus Shark songs, like Catamaran, which is a really great song, and a few more. I've made a Best Friends Forever festival, a Best Friends festival playlist for this year, and I'll put it in the link of the YouTube video. So if you wanted to check out some of the songs I was jamming on, but I'm also going to put some of these tracks in the audio version of the podcast. But Bear vs. Shark was a great high energy show. You know, they had it looked like some of their buddies were just cruising around on stage, just enjoying their time. And the lead singer was like climbing the scaffolding, and it was just awesome. Lead singer reminded me of Tom Hardy in the movie Bronson. He had that mustache and the shaved head, and he just looked like he could be like in a circus, like flexing back in the turn of the century. But they were great, high energy band, and I was happy to get in touch with their management. So looks like I get to see them in LA and maybe get a chance to interact. Maybe I could have one of them on the show. So stay tuned on that. Then I headed over to go see Narrowhead, and Narrowhead is a band that I really, really like. I've been following those guys for a while. I think they're younger. They've got a heavier kind of hum, thick distortion, kind of those like gentle vocals behind something really loud. I heard them a few years ago, really loved their sound, and I was excited to see them. I rushed over to see them. They've put out some records that I really like. They've ended up in my tops of the year, like in my contenders. So we get over there, and they're 2 songs in. I'm really close up front, and then they just stop the show because there's lightning in the distance. They stop the festival, they pause us all, there's lightning, so they're like, we can't go on. This is all an outdoor festival at the Las Vegas Event Center, which is really close to Fremont Street, and they stop the festival because they're like lightning. So we all kind of like are, going on and figuring out, what are you going to do? How long are they going to hold this for? And then a deluge of rain just falls upon us. And this is, not common in Las Vegas. I mean, sure, it rains, but not something that you would ever expect. And I don't recall there really being much of a forecast of this storm or this rain. And so when it happened, we were all like, what? And it was a lot of rain. This entire area is like on AstroTurf. But we're all crowded underneath, and it's just pouring and pouring, and you can see the lightning and you can hear the thunder. There's some people are running around getting wet. My feet are soaked. We were like, how long are we going to hold on for? And there was this feeling that they were not going to bring the concert back that night. There was this general, I don't know if this is going to, I think that maybe we're rained out for the night. So everybody, I was trying to connect with people in my group and friends and people that I knew, but everybody was like, all right, well, we're going to go get dinner. And I was like, I'm going to go back to my hotel room and get some charge in my phone because it's almost dead and dry out a little bit. So we did, and just the time of kind of like figuring things out, getting a bite to eat, just kind of taking a moment. I actually went back to my room and closed my eyes for, it was like 20 minutes just to kind of like reset, keep going. I'm an older gentleman, you know? So these festivals take it out of me. But I got the strength back, went back out there because we heard, okay, Cursive is going on. And Cursive, the band, Tim Kasher, love them. And they were on this festival 2 times. One on Friday and one on Sunday, and each time a full album playthrough. So Friday was Domestica, and then Sunday was The Ugly Organ. And it was really, really great to see that much Cursive on Friday. And, such great energy, but it was raining. It was still a little drizzly, but it was enough that we could come back. Then I went over to go see Knapsack. And Knapsack also featured on 90s Treasures on Sundays, their song Cellophane. Now, it's funny because you're going to see that a lot of the artists, or several of the artists, are like 90s Treasures worthy. And that just goes to show you what kind of festival this is. This is like the kind of festival where you're getting those artists that a smaller percentage of us know and remember. But when you see them all there gathered together, like here's this band Knapsack. I do a song about Knapsack, Cellophane, talk a little bit about that band and their history. And there's a really small contingent of people in the comments that are like, oh, I know that Knapsack, I love them. But the majority is like, I don't know this band. I don't remember this band. Thank you for showing them to me. But then you're at Best Friends Forever and you're standing with a sea of people, a huge crowd, singing along to every single word. Every single note they know to this band. And that is so cool to see. That is so cool to see. This is a niche fest. This is you are a lover of this kind of music. And we're all gathered together. We're all doing this together. And that would be a trend through the whole weekend of like, we're in this together. And you really got that sense as you walked around. People would come up to me and approach me to talk about the festival, ask bands, what bands I'm there to see, take a picture with me, or just visit and talk. But everybody was warm. Everybody was kind. It was incredible to experience it. It was just so great because you were like gathering together a group of friends around this festival. And it felt like everywhere you went, people were kind. Everywhere, just people were like warm and friendly. And when you move through a crowd, when you're at a concert and it starts to get really packed and you need to like find your friends or you need to move your way through, a lot of times you're met with a lot of aggression at festivals or shows where people just don't want you to get around them. And it's understandable. I think it's really a dick move when you've been waiting on the front barricade and people are just like pushing their way. That's rude, because they've waited, they worked really hard, and I don't like doing that at all. The few times that I've been brought to the front of anything, it's been because somebody has said, hey, come here, join us. And I am not comfortable with that. There's been a couple. If you've seen me out there where you watched me go through that, like a perfect example, I was at Kilby Block Party and I was at the Nation of Language after show. And when I tell you, this is in Salt Lake City, we were crammed like sardines in a can at that place. And the guy who brought me to this after show was very bold about getting close. And my God, he grabbed my arm and pulled me through the crowd. I did not have the courage to do what we were doing, and I did not want to do it. But it was late. Maybe I was a little sauced. And the whole time I was being pulled through this crowd, I felt the human bodies like just wanting to break my bones, just pushing hard and just gritting their teeth. And we're at Nation of Language. And we're in Salt Lake City. We're in like a place where people are generally kind and warm. And Nation of Language is like really kind of dancey 80s feeling music. It's really great. But I could not believe the hard agitated, aggressive stance, the absolute like pressure against my body as we were pushing our way through the sea of people. I was like, oh my God. Anyway, I share this as a total counterpoint as to what it felt like here, where you could navigate through if you needed to. And yet I think everybody was so kind they didn't want to do that kind of stuff. So after Knapsack, it comes Mineral. And Mineral, legendary. I have yet to cover them on 90s Treasures, but I was planning on it. But it was an incredible set, very emotional. And according to them, according to the band members, this is the last show, the last time they'll play ever. Now, you hear that, and anything could change. 6-7 years could fly by, and there could be a desire to play again, so it could happen. But to be at Best Friends Forever and knowing, first of all, this was the first time I've ever seen Mineral play. And to know that it was their last time made it pretty intense. And by the time we get to Parking Lot, the last song, wow. The production, the film that they had on the back, like the artistic aesthetic of it all was just magnifique. It was just the exact energy that we needed that night. Especially after the rain, especially after the 2-hour delay. Incredible. Then headed over to Rival Schools with Walter Schreifels, but I gotta be honest, I wasn't able to get up close because at this point in time, you're really getting to the bulk of the most people at the festival. And I get to stand way in the back, watch Walter rock out for several songs. And then at this point in time, I had about as much strength in me to handle maybe 2 Minus the Bear songs, and my phone was dead. And then my feet were wet. I was a little cold and uncomfortable. And so I'm sorry for breaking anyone's heart who's a diehard Minus the Bear fan. But by the time I got to that part of the night, I was just done. I was tapped out. I'm so sorry, Minus the Bear. I would love to see you live. I would love to see a concert. I'd love to understand a little bit more about your music because I haven't dug in. But I know a lot of people out there love you guys, and I love it. I hope I get a chance to see you again. So you think that it's just me walking you through the festival. I'm getting to the point because day 2, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on band after band after band. I was really just wetting your palate, getting you ready for the big day on Sunday. Because what I'm going to do is tell you that story, that Elliott story. But day 2, really, I won't bog you down because so much of day 2 was me interviewing artists. So much of that day, I actually missed a ton because I was a guest, like I said, press, but I also had the artist access thanks to my friends in the band, Hey Mercedes. Hey Mercedes is, the majority of members of Braid. Sans one person, add another person. So knowing those guys, the great guys from that band, they were like, hey, you're with us. So once I connected with them, I had the ability to go back and talk to artists and see if they wanted to do some videos. And if you missed what I did, I basically would talk to the bands backstage and I would say, would you like to do just a quick video? I don't want to take up a lot of your time. A lot of them were so gracious and kind. And I would basically hit them with 3 things. I would say, okay, would you like to play Music, Truth, or Dare? Or would you like to tell me your pre-show ritual? Or number 3, I said to them, or you can tell me how you survive a 3-day festival. And I learned a lot from this experiment. So for example, last year when I went to this festival, I was not as prepared, right? And so I had the opportunity to talk to these artists, but I would stand there with them and I would just be like, what is your waterproof record? Which after I did it, I was like, that was probably not the right idea because if I want to have them on a show down the road, I'd want to make an episode out of that. So I was learning as I went as to how to approach them. I was so happy that I got to talk to bands like Mannequin Pussy and so many others last year. And the band Hello Mary, which I shot footage with them and then I completely lost the footage that I was uploading to computers and whatnot, and I had this great little conversation with them, and I think I might have discovered where it is. So a year later, I think I can finally publish that interview if people still wanted to see it. But I wasn't prepared last time. So this time I was like, I need to go into this festival prepared. I need to have a better idea as to what I'm going to ask people. And also, you want to give these artists a chance to say something and not have to think too hard, right? These questions about their favorite albums of all time. It's like, you sometimes want to give people a chance to really process, like, what do they want their answer to be? So Music, Truth, or Dare was so fun because I was ready to do the dare. I was ready for somebody to choose dare, but no one ever did. I'm not going to reveal what my dare in the back of my mind was. But for my truth, I kind of stuck to the same one. I had a good one in my head, which was, and hear me out, I would say, what's a song that comes on the radio in your car and you roll up your windows because you're embarrassed for other people to see that you like it? Now, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, what's your guilty pleasure, right? Like, why not just ask that? I wanted to paint the question in such a way that you thought about it specifically. Because if you sit there and you go, what's your guilty pleasure? And the person goes, I don't know, ABBA or something like that. That's not very interesting. But if you talk about like the moment of embarrassment over a pop song maybe in your car, or like something that other people think sucks and you heard it on the radio and you're like, or you heard it and you're like, I actually thought it was that's a bop, I enjoy it. So it was so fun. If you haven't seen those, there were several of the artists that said so many great answers that I've published on the socials from the festival, like Jay Robbins and a band who was doing Burning Airlines, and who else did the Music, Truth, or Dare? Anyway, I'm forgetting. I'm very, very tired. You can go see the videos, and you can see what it is that I talked about. But so. And then I would ask them what was their pre-show ritual, which was a little bit like, okay, we can just talk about how we get ready. But I learned on this festival that the third question of how do you survive a 3-day festival, no one wanted that one because all the bands were like, we don't really like play a festival and hang out for 3 days. Like we come in, we play our spot, we got to go on and do other things. So I was like, so you're not like us running around here in the rain and then a day 2 and then a day 3. Like maybe some do, but they got other places to play, other venues to rock. So, but anyway, that was the day. This was the day that I asked all the questions of people. So I kept missing people. But during the day, I got a chance to see Burning Airlines, which I love that album. And I actually just talked about Pacific 231 on the 10 songs that give me life. I covered that song on there. So it was so cool because I love that album. And I got to talk to Jay Robbins, and I got to talk to Brooks, and I got to talk to Peter. And it was such a cool experience to talk to those guys. And then I got to ask Jay a very important question, which is on that album, there was a song called Wheaton Calling. And when I heard the song Wheaton Calling, I lived in Wheaton, Illinois, and I've talked about that in the past. I lived in Wheaton, Illinois for a short stint in 1995 to 1996. I went to Wheaton North High School. My mom was a teacher at Wheaton College. My brother went to Wheaton College, and I went to the University of Illinois. But I hated Wheaton. Wheaton was a terrible place. It's infused with over religious culture, and it's really like Pleasantville, like everybody's pretending that they're so perfect and happy, and there's just a lot of darkness behind the doors. There's a lot of messed up. People were very cruel. There was a lot of like stagnant racism amongst the kids there. It was gross. I hated Wheaton. I still hate Wheaton to this day. I should probably be in counseling about it. But, I was getting emotional there for a second. So he has this song on that album called Wheaton Calling. And I asked him, I was like, hey, so that song, back when you released it, it's not like I could find a lot of information about the song. Is this about Wheaton, Illinois? And he was like, no, it's about Wheaton, Maryland. And I was like, oh. And I was like, oh, it's funny because when you wrote the song, when you put out the song, I would listen to it and I would read the lyrics and I would like read symbolism into the place that I lived. And I was like, I feel like this is about me. I feel like this is happening to me right now. But I got that cleared up after 25 years. It's good to clear the air. Another person that I saw backstage was David Bazan, aka Pedro the Lion. And before I went to this festival, my brother and I had talked about that because David Bazan is an important figure for somebody who, when he was creating music initially, it was definitely like Christian in tone, but then slowly over time, and he started to go through a falling away and a deconstruction, you really begin to see that through his lyrics and words. And so he means a ton to me and a ton to my brother as somebody who really speaks to that part of us, of our deconstruction. So I wanted to meet him, and I walked up to him. And the thing about him, David Bazan, is that he's very, very introverted. He does not, I knew kind of approaching him, I was like, I do not want to come on too hot here. I need to come in like mellow and chill. Because, you're watching this show now, you see me, I'm just like, hey, bubbly and high energy. So I was like, okay, approach this slowly. But I walked up to him and I just said, I just want to shake your hand. I'm just a big fan. My brother and I are big fans of Pedro the Lion. And your music means a lot to us. And I told him for the same reasons I just told you. And he was like, oh, wow, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I was like, yeah, maybe afterwards, after you perform, maybe we could do a video or something together. And he was like, yeah, maybe. So he goes up and plays, and it's great. It's a wonderful set. And I definitely got teary-eyed on several of the songs. And then I saw him later. And I walked up to him again, and he declined the video because he just was kind of, I think, a little bit like post-show, and I knew that was coming. Like, didn't want to film any content that seemed in line with the personality and the man that I knew him to be. That I was like, that doesn't seem like his thing. But we took a photo together, and so that was great, and which he was very gracious about. And he looks at me, and he goes, "Yeah, I thought of you up there when I was playing the fleecing," and I was like, do you know how wild that is? Do you know how crazy it is to be like, I had a few second conversation with him before he went on, and then as he's playing that song, I popped in his head because I shared with him about the struggle, the feeling, like coming out of all that. And I was like, holy shit, man, what is my life? That for me, to you, that might not mean anything, but for me, I was like, I just feel so lucky when you get a chance to interact with artists and creators and you get to have that first person conversation with them. So I was just honored to have that. And then after that, you have Texas Is the Reason played and Jawbreaker. And I love Texas Is the Reason. I think they're great. I really just got to shake the lead singer's hand briefly. I don't think they were familiar with me at all or what I do, but they put on a fantastic show. And then Jawbreaker, which I would say Jawbreaker, it was like a weekend favorite for a lot of people. For me personally, I knew a couple songs. I never really got into Jawbreaker. I have friends that have strong opinions, both positive and negative, about Jawbreaker. And I enjoyed what I saw, but there was so much about this day that I was like, I had spent so much energy in interacting with people that near the end of the night, I was just kind of enjoying sitting there as the band played. I was sitting on the grass and just being like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm going to chill out right now. But they put on a great show. So you've waited. I waited till the end to build up to the moment. And we're almost there. We're almost there. You're like, you son of a bitch. I thought you were going to say it. Day 3, got there right at 12:30 because Ozma went on. Ozma is a fantastic band that, toured with Weezer. I just saw them earlier this year open for the Get Up Kids. They've got a really charming, fun, upbeat sound, and they're from Pasadena, which is so cool, right around the corner from me. And I got a chance to meet with Jose, the guitar player, and he and I had messaged back and forth a few times. We took a photo together, got to catch up. That was really cool, but they were on super early, so I had to get there super early. This was a long day ahead. Then after that, I caught These Arms Are Snakes. That was intense and crazy, and the lead singer was like taking his shirt off, but he was like crawling over the crowd. He was like flailing around everywhere, and they put on a hell of a show. That was like an awesome performance. I wasn't that familiar with that band, but they crushed it. They were incredible. And the bass player in These Arms Are Snakes is the bass player in Russian Circles. And I was like, well, I mean, come on. Russian Circles, I love that band. And so this is going to be good. And it was. It was really good. But I'm going to tell you right now, the band that I missed next was the Appleseed cast. I skipped them. I know, again, like minus the bear, some people out there that really wanted me to report back on the Appleseed cast, but I had to skip them because here we are. We've arrived at Elliott. We've arrived at the band that I've been waiting to see. And you know, at a festival, Best Friends Forever is good because they space out the performances by 5 minutes. There's only 2 stages. It's not that hard to get from one to the next. So if you can see everybody, you don't have to miss any set if you time it right. You won't always be able to be up close, but you can see every artist if you just go back and forth and back and forth. You can spend the entire festival, and they do it. It's very well organized. Why I think it's good vibes, why I think there's good energy. But I knew I wanted to be up close for Elliott. I wanted to be at the barricade, and this is on the smaller stage, the lesser size, not the headliner stage, but the side stage. So I knew I'd want to be right at the barricade, so I made sure I got myself all the way to the front. All the way to the front. So I'm up front, and let me tell you, when I was backstage, I was talking to somebody, and they were asking me, they were like, who are you the most excited to see? And I said, Elliott. I'm so excited. And I started saying that. And I see this lady to my right, and she's standing there, and she's got her son, and she's kind of like looking at me as I'm saying this, and I'm talking to, this other artist. Oh, it's the lead singer, Brian from Penfold. We're talking about it right there. And she's kind of coming over, and she's like, oh, you're excited to see Elliott? And she gestures, and the man standing next to her is big, long beard, long hair. And she's like, this is Jay, and he's in Elliott. I didn't know just by looking at him that he was, but he was a very kind, gentle human. And apparently he hasn't been playing with the band for a long time, but he's back. And I basically let it be known that I had made this video about seeing Elliott and how excited I was to see. And then they suddenly were like, oh, yeah, we did see that video. We did see you. It was sent around. And so I was like, okay, they saw it. And I was like, so are you playing the song Shallow Like Your Breath? And Jay just looks at me and just goes, yes, we are. So you guys, I knew I was in for it. I knew I was in for trouble. I knew this was going to be one of the most emotional things, because what I said in the video was, this song, Shallow Like Your Breath, I have for 25 years put that on, and when you get to the powerful ending, it does make me weep. And when I was new to TikTok and I was just starting out, I would do these TikTok lives, and I would stay up very late. It would be like 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:30. There'd be like a contingent of like 12 people still on. And I would just be like, you guys, and I would put on emotional music, and we would just get in our feels, and people seemed to be down for it. And yeah, maybe I was a couple whiskeys in. People seemed to really enjoy it, but I would put on Shallow Like Your Breath, and no matter what, I would be like, this song's going to make me cry, and I would cry. And it was so cathartic and so healing. So I knew if I saw the song live, I was going to cry. I knew it. So I'm at the front barricade, and the band comes out, and I can't believe it's happening. And surrounding me, I've talked to this nice gentleman to my left named Chris, and he's there with his 17-year-old daughter. And there's these guys to my right, and everybody around me, there are just a bunch of guys, mostly. It's just guys like beards, bigger dudes. And they're all just standing around me. I don't know anybody. I get a sense that there's a couple there that have seen my videos, but like mostly strangers. I'm just surrounded by strangers. And the set begins, the show begins, and I immediately, like a song in, the tears start flowing. And these tears are like just the regular, like you see a sad scene in a movie. They're just kind of regular tears, but it's coming. I can feel it. And about 2 songs in, I'm like, starting to grow. And I just slightly turn my head to the right. And this guy right here, he sees, it's a break between a song. He sees that I've got tears coming, and several of them do. And I kind of chuckle and I go, see guys, I'm already falling apart. And he just puts his arm out and puts it on my shoulder. And he goes, hey, buddy, we got you, man. Stay with us. He just puts his arm on my shoulder. And when I tell you that human contact of that encouragement, that just made me feel safer, more secure, and the tears just felt more welcome to come. So then another song goes, Blessed by Your Own Ghost, another one that gets me. Now the tears are really starting to come down, but I'm still at the place where it's like the tears that run down your face. I'm not crying yet. If you're watching the episode, you'll see my expression, yet. And after a few more songs, I turned my head again to the side, and that same encouraging guy is like, still like, hey, we got you. And then I feel another set of hands like pat me on this side. And then another set of hands, like just hands on my shoulders, just like that kind of like, hey, buddy, it's okay. It's okay. We got you, man. You don't experience that at festivals or shows with strangers and amongst men. But here you do. Here you experience a bunch of guys. I wasn't being consoled by women. I was being consoled by men, big burly men. And they were all just making sure I was okay. And then they play Shallow Like Your Breath. And I can't even tell you, like a dam broke from my face. And I wasn't just crying, I was sobbing. I was sobbing. My hands were shaking. With each passing moment of this song, as the melodies, as it swelled, I was breaking wide open. Everything was coming out, and I was just letting it go. I felt it from my head to my toes. I felt it throughout my entire body as we built through this song. And there's a photo of me. There's a little video of me, and I'm okay with that because this nice guy named Russell, who I'd met, who was a management for Bear vs. Shark, he had talked to me beforehand, and he saw me from backstage just losing it. And he was like, he reached out and he was like, I wouldn't normally intrude on anybody's private moment. But he's like, I knew you were somebody who creates videos. You're very expressive, very, you share these things. And so he just snapped a couple pictures of me in my moment. And I'm grateful. And when he sent it to me, he was like, I'm sorry. I hope that was okay. I hope I made the right judgment. I was like, you made the right call. You knew who I was. You know what I'm about. And that sounds like I'm like, oh, hey, I'm glad you captured me to show the world my sadness. But no, it was every time I look at that picture, I'm taken right back to that feeling. And I'll share it with you. I'll share that image with you. That is me. That is me raw and feeling all the pain and anguish and life and things that needed to come out and things that I've talked about before on the show, things that I needed to work through. And it all came flooding out. And when that set was over and we were done, I turned around and everyone offered me comfort and hugs and support. And hey, man, hey, come here. That was amazing. Do you need water? Do you need to sit down? You guys, I mean, that level of love, I have never seen that before in my life. I went to Kill Bee Block Party and I had a great time. And that's in Salt Lake City. And then, I told the Nation of Language story earlier, but the festival, but in the crowd there were some people that were, just like, don't bother me. Not like I got in their face. It's just like, when I'm waiting around for a band, I just usually like to talk to the people around me because I like to feel like we're going to be safe in this together. There were a couple kind people. And then Riot Fest, no. Riot Fest is like you travel with friends. I mean, there's a lot of nice people that come up and say hi to you, but I wouldn't feel good in a crowd to really feel like anybody would, offer that. I'm not trying to trash talk festivals or shows, but It really was staggering. And the only reason I'm not crying as I tell you about it now is because I'm pretty cried out. I've kind of let it all out the past few days. This was last weekend, but my brother was here, and I've definitely had some stuff that I've had to work through, and I have been working through it. But that was the power of music, and that was the power of Elliott. And to top it all off, to top the entire experience off, I did not get to meet Chris, but he wrote me afterwards about how special it was that I made a video about them, and that I was excited to see the song, and that there was something about that show and the energy there, and he thanked me for it, and that doorway is open for me to be in touch with this band, and I'm so happy about that, because I do love the band. I'd love to see them again, and I'd love to talk to him, maybe on the show. That would be so special. But that was the biggest moment of the day for me. It didn't get any better than crying my eyes out and feeling love and support from strangers in a crowd. And the rest of the day was still great because we had, Cursive played the ugly organ, and I loved that album and I loved that show. And Jenny Lewis from Rilo Kiley came out and sang, a little bit with Tim. That was a cool moment to see. And then Wednesday went on, then Rilo Kiley, then Penfold, all great. I'd seen Rilo Kiley. That was my third time seeing Rilo Kiley this year. She kept popping up at Just Like Heaven Festival in Pasadena. Then she was at Kilby Block Party, and then this one. So I've had my Rilo Kiley of the year. Great band, but I was pretty exhausted. I was pretty drained. And then we closed out the night with Jimmy Eat World, with quite possibly the best Jimmy Eat World set I've ever seen in my life. And mainly because, look, Jimmy Eat World is popular for hit songs like The Middle and Sweetness, and other songs. But this was a clarity-focused set. This was clearly clarity set. They opened with Table for Glasses. And when I tell you I leapt to my feet when they opened with Table for Glasses, that's the video. That's the song that I've done a video on. I've done a video on how that feels and fills me with light. And Clarity is my all-time favorite Jimmy Eat World album, and it's in my top 10 albums of all time. Top 10. I love Bleed American. I love Futures. I love Static Prevails. But Clarity, to me, is a masterpiece. And they played so much off of Clarity, it was kind of mind-boggling. So much. Like, I heard songs off that album that I never thought I'd see live. And they played Goodbye Sky Harbor. And I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Now, they didn't do the full version where it goes on and on and on. I think they knew their audience, but they did do a little instrumental at the end. But to see them do Goodbye Sky Harbor, I was not prepared. And that was a phenomenal Jimmy Eat World show. And honestly, it was the icing on the cake. I just had this incredible concert experience. The power of music, the power of it, the healing nature of it, the community that I felt was unbelievable. And to close off the night with Clarity. Clarity. Everything was coming clear. It was so simple and easy, and so much of what we're processing at this age in our life. It's like, it's really, really interesting, because I'm sure so many of you, if you're around my age, a little younger, a little older, you're probably going through it too. Just this digging in of things that you didn't face before. Childhood, younger ages, you didn't stop and take a look. You just kept working and pushing forward. But I'm just finding myself taking the time to figure out, like, why do I do this or that? Why did this happen? What choice led me down this way? And how am I going to make choices differently? And what do I really want out of life? What do I want before this is over? I get one time here. I want to make the most of it. And I'm going to. And I have been. This that I'm doing now has been the greatest chapter of my life personally. Kids, of course, are incredible. Marriage, of course, is incredible. I love my family. I love things that I've done in my career. But for this opportunity to open up to me at this time in my life, to be in my 40s and suddenly see a lot of live music, share moments about music, talk to artists and heroes that I admire, entertain you. You're really what makes this so special for me. You. Because I get a chance to make your day better. I get the opportunity to give to you. And giving to people every day, best thing in the world. Best thing in the world. It is the best. The wonders it will do for your spirit and soul to give gifts to people. It's remarkable. That's it. That's Best Friends Forever 2. I hope it was worth it to sit with me for a little bit. I know I ran you through the schedule. I know I said I won't do that, and then I kind of did that. So thanks for being patient and sitting through it. But I hope it was worth it to get to the story about Elliott and how incredible that was. So thank you for joining me. This has been a fun one because I felt a little bit more relaxed, like kicking back in my chair, not as nervous. You'd think I'd be good at not being on edge about recording this. This is episode 89, closing in on 100. That is the goal, though. Get this studio up and running before we get to episode 100. We gotta get this done. I gotta take the time. All right. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it so much. I can't do this show unless you share it and spread the word and more people listen. We do need to grow. We've hit a little bit of a slow point where we're kind of like got the same consistent group of people coming around. I'd love to pop this up even higher so we can get more exposure and keep this going and really grow Waterproof Records and everything that I'm doing. So I need your help. So if you can, go out there, leave a comment on Apple or wherever you like to leave comments on, or, just put it on a list of these are my favorite music podcasts. Thank you so much to Pantheon Podcasts for supporting this show. Pantheon Podcasts is a massive network of music podcasts, and they have so many other great ones out there that you definitely should check out. They have Metallica, Rush, so many more that if you have a band that you love, I bet you there's somebody who covers it out there in Pantheon Podcasts. So thank you to Pantheon Podcasts for making me a part of the team, and I can't do it without them. And thank you again to DistroKid. Make sure to use distrokid.com/VIP/waterproof. Get 30% off your first year of uploading music. And there has been a dog barking out there, which is unusual. That normally doesn't happen. I don't know if it's showing up in the episode at all, but anyway, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Waterproof Records. I appreciate you so much. You are awesome. I love you, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Things are gonna change. I can feel it.
If this gonna be that kind of party, I'm gonna